Everybody is quiet, so I'd imagine you are. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, you guys can wake up a little bit. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Please raise your hand if it is your first time here. Awesome. Plenty of new faces. I want to take a moment to introduce Northeast Kansas Entrepreneurship Academy. If you guys could give them a warm round of applause, these guys are bright young minds. My name is Tyler. I'm one of your community organizers, along with John, Courtney, and I think we've got Nicole here. The way this works is we have two presenters get up here for about 6 minutes apiece. They're going to present their business to you, and then we are going to turn it over to our expert panelists here to ask some good questions, and then we're going to turn it over to you guys to ask some good questions, so be thinking of those as they're presenting. Before I introduce our expert panelists, I wanted to make everyone aware that there's a phone that was left at the back near the coffee. If this is yours, please come get it after. And now, without further ado, I'll go ahead and have our expert panelists introduce themselves.
I'm Paul Francis. I'm the CEO of Oyo Fitness. We presented here about a year ago, and it really helped us kind of take it the next step. So it's great to be back and be on your panel. Oyo Fitness manufactures and markets line of personal fitness products.
I'm Kyle Claypool, one of the founders of Lifted Spirits Distillery down in the East Crossroads here in Kansas City. So we presented a little over 2 years ago when we were still in the sort of build-out stage in our space. We've been open for a year and a half now, and we're making vodka and gin. We released the first absinthe ever made in Missouri that we're aware of. We've got whiskey aging in barrels and some other experiments going on right now. So we've also got a full cocktail bar, tasting room, and event space.
Well, if you guys want to have a good time, go see these. Thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and welcome to the floor our first presenter. If you could, please help me welcome Daniel Bauer with Caw Point Meadery. I can't talk. Thank you.
Testing, cool. Jumping the gun. So hi, my name is Daniel Bauer, one of the founders of Caw Point Meadery. And these are the other founders here. Sam Sarth is my other partner here, he's in the crowd. And John Zumalt could not be here today, but the other founder. So we are Caw Point Meadery. What is a meadery? But just like a brewery brews beer, a winery makes wine, a meadery makes mead, right? So what is mead is the next question. So at its core, mead is alcohol made out of honey. So we take honey and water, ferment it with yeast into alcohol. It can be sweet, it can be dry, low alcohol, high alcohol. You can add spices, fruit, anything under the sun. It is its own class of beverage. That's the important takeaway. That way. So mead has seen a meteoric rise in recent years. I would call it where craft beer was in the 80s or so. It's been getting a lot of press all over. Currently, this is the 2017 Mead Industry Report by the American Mead Makers Association, which is in its 5th year of infancy. So currently we have data that there's a meadery opening every 3 days in the United States. One in the world every week, which is stunning. So how did we begin making mead? Right. So I studied botany and chemistry at Oregon State University, and over the course of home brewing, I decided to start attending UC Davis and learning more about integrating into the industry, speaking to people, and learning as much as I can. So it started as a 1-gallon hobby in my college apartment, has turned into my basement, and is about to turn into a commercial facility. So it's a fun hobby. Certainly do a lot of homework. So over the course of taking a small business development course at the Kansas Small Business Development Center, wrote a 140-page business plan over 280 days, but who's counting? And we gave away a lot of mead. Over the course of 3.5, 4 years, we've given away 200 gallons a year, which is our homebrew limit. So we couldn't make any more. This last year, we actually had to stop in April producing any, which is kind of a drag. I'd rather sell it commercially. So we gave away a lot of mead, and we decided to use the support of our community to fund a Kickstarter. So in April of last year, we started a Kickstarter. 30-day process, we asked for $30,000. We raised $32,421 from 149 people. Since then, we also did a Kiva loan process backed by Greater Kansas City LISC, where we raised $10,000 over 46 people or individuals, and that actually wrapped up about a week and a half ago. So what are we doing with this money? Well, we have a facility, started in Strawberry Hill, over just at the foot of Unified Government. So some renovations that we're starting to do to the exterior, kind of spruce up the place a little bit. Another shot there. We are hoping to have, this is a draft by Scribe, a local graffiti artist who's going to help us out a little bit, throw some color into the area. And we've been doing some renovations to the area, trying to improve our community as we go and really become a hub for the area. And that was a lot of fun. This is going to be our tap room, right? So we'll be able to fit 48 people or so at any given time. Do bottle releases through there, have it on tap by the glass, buy the bottle to go, or buy the bottle to enjoy there. This is so we do a lot in-house. This is our own graphic design. Rough drafts right now, but you get the idea of what we're going for here. Ideally, we have a bee in every bar in the city at some point as your gluten-free option. Time check. So it's been a wild ride over the last particularly year and a half or so after working in the industry or getting to know everybody, picking everybody's brain. I was honored to be on a panel about starting a meadery at the American Mead Makers Association conference last year, which is only the second year that we've had a conference in conjunction with the largest competition in the world for mead, where we have over 1,000 entries. We're very community-oriented. We like to support our supporters as much as they've supported us and gotten us this far. And that is our contact information. 613 North 6th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. It's where you can find us working most days, trying to get this thing off the ground. We're in the build-out stage, obviously, and you can follow us on social media. I believe we have floating around 3,500 followers so far between Instagram and Facebook. And if you have any further questions or would like to reach out, that's my email on the bottom, please. And with that said,
All right, we are going to go ahead and turn it over to our expert panelists. Take it away.
there we go.
Very cool, by the way.
Thank you.
So just for the rest of the crowd, he and I gave away a bunch of alcohol at the American Royal last year to support charity, presumably, but mostly people were just wanting to drink there. And their stuff is incredible, so first chance you get, definitely give it a try. So you're in the build-out stage right now,
Oh, yeah.
which is a special kind of hell.
He's
We
not lying.
were warned going in to expect the build-out to take at least twice as long and cost 3 times as much, or vice versa. We found that to be not completely inaccurate. What sort of surprises and challenges have you run into? How are you working through those? And what kind of contingencies do you have if it runs beyond the plans that you've got in place?
So one unexpected hiccup. You think you plan for everything whenever it comes to the amount of licensing that comes into play whenever you're producing a controlled substance. Which is a weird way to put it, right? So we've had to go through federal processing, state, local. Everybody wants to know how we're doing it, all of the fine details down to every inch of our floor plan, right? So we actually had the city planner that we've been working with has been great, and the whole planning department. But we did have one hiccup where a typo existed in, he selected a single family home for the business that we were starting. And we had to wait an entire month cycle to go back through the zoning variance process. And our special use permit, which had been approved, was contingent upon the zoning variance. And we couldn't apply for our state licensing until we had our zoning variance, and we couldn't apply for our building permits until we had our zoning variance. So we just had to sit on our hands and do what we could without a permit for a month. So that was a drag. Yeah. And then just hidden costs pop up all the time. You know, whenever we were fleshing out the business plan, we went through probably 4 different models of size that we could have started at. And tried to account for everything there. But then whenever you land in a particular building, each building has its quirks that you have to fix particularly for your production space. So I would say hidden costs within construction have been one of our biggest surprises. And then as far as contingency goes, I would say we're trying to ride it out. We're just trying to keep our heads above water and keep chugging along. Every little step is progress towards the end goal, and you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I hope that answered your question.
Very, interesting business, and I think you've really done a fantastic job, with your research and your background, and you're following your passion, which, you can never go wrong, doing that. So I think it looks great. And so you're building out this facility as your production facility, and also you can come in there and actually buy, retail, sit around like a bar, and can you serve then to the public in that space? Yeah.
So
Okay.
So the back half of this building is going to be our production space.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have you'll be able to see into the production space from our tap room.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
that's a better view.
Yeah.
And then pretty much where the second yellow pole there, that whole first floor is about 1,000 square feet, where we'll have 2 restrooms, seating for the bar.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can come into a flight, you can do by the glass, bottle to go whenever we do particular bottle releases, but we're initially planning on small enough batches rolling that we'll do kind of release events, and then we might not have bottles on hand at any given time until we get enough product rolling in.
And then to attract customers, obviously you're going to be using this as kind of your place where you're building your culture and
Yes.
doing all your marketing with your social media and Facebook ads and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And drive people in there for special events and all kinds of things.
We're right at the bottom of the hill of unified government, so I actually have a plan to do a grand opening ad blast to every employee of unified government about a week before we open, among other, all of our followers and in the area as well. But
That's great. So then is kind of the swinging for the fences is to try to get this in, bars across the country, and build your brand and
yeah, across the country would be great.
I mean, start regionally, of course.
Right. So yeah, there's really not a brand of mead that's broken through that threshold right now of becoming a nationally recognized brand. There are some that are doing very well.
So if you're a beer drinker, you would consider, because I've never tasted mead,
Right.
but how does it differ from beer? Is it a little sweeter and,
So there's different types. We do session meads, and we do our special releases, which are going to be more kind of like a wine. And then we'll do our traditional meads, which are just to highlight local honey varieties, right?
is it served cold or lukewarm?
So our session meads are going to be on draft, carbonated, cold. They're going to be more like a cider kind of aspect, or a lighter beer.
What do you think would be your, standard, version that you'd really push into the bars and you know, are they used to like tapping kegs and running it
So
up to the
We'll
spigot? And,
have 4 session meads that we're really hitting with distribution. And that's going to be like a hibiscus cinnamon with clover honey, local clover honey. A dry hopped, it's going to be dry, light, and a little bit.
and what's your marketing plan to, you know, get this into, you know, retail distribution and into
So
bars?
we've been speaking to bars and visiting them, gathering letters of intent, just so that, you know, if we talk to a different person, then we can at least say, well, somebody here wanted it, right? And then as a winery, we are actually allowed to bypass the 3-tier system. So we can go and say, would you like to buy a keg? And we can actually do the face-to-face contact with all of our reps. Now it requires maintaining accounts. So we're going to have to factor that into how we canvas, how we service accounts, make sure
Right.
everybody's being
Could
taken
you have
care
like
of.
special events at a bar where you kind of wheel in your keg
Tap
and your little
takeovers
display and your, you know, and your logo and, you know, you're all dressed in your, you know,
Oh, yeah.
outfits with your logos and, you know, do a big social media effort and say, hey, if you've never tasted this, come on down and
So
try
initially,
that.
we'll have the sessions available as far as we can distribute them ourselves. But then the only place that you can get our bottles will be at our facility during a bottle release, or if we have some extra, you know, on hand there. So we will try to essentially target people, bring them to a business to prove, you know, that there is interest in having it on tap. Use our social media community that way, and then, you know, generate traffic to our location as well, because that's where we make
Yeah.
the most margin.
Well, that's great. I don't want to take up too much time here, so I'll get off the microphone.
All right, guys, raise your hand if you have any questions.
We've got several. I'm going to go ahead and start because I have a microphone and I can do that. You and I were talking before this. So, you know, I said I've been doing some homebrewing of beer. Some people will homebrew wine, you know, even, you know, whiskey or spirits. So I guess my question is, why mead? And I had never heard of mead until we got your application and you and I had started talking. So naturally, me being a beer drinker, I said, hey, I'll brew beers. So I guess my question is just, why mead?
Well, it started as a fascination with what is this stuff? I read Beowulf in high school, and it was the mead hall that Grendel kept sacking, so it must have been good, right? No, so it was more of a mysterious thing. I didn't know what it was. Thought maybe this is just a type of beer. You know, I don't know. So I started doing research. Turns out there was a meadery that had just opened. It was about 6 months old whenever I found it in Corvallis, the town that I was going to high school or to college in. And so I tried theirs, and it was great. Completely blew my mind. It was a dry session mead. Light. I thought it was going to be thick and sweet like a wine or something like that. And my study partner in bio was actually going through the food and fermentation science program. So we started bouncing back and forth on brewing beer, but he'd never made a mead either. So I just decided to take it into my own hands and start doing as much research and talking to people online as I could. And then it was realizing the market gap. You know, it became, this is so much fun, I enjoyed doing this, and it's, well, the first batches, like we were talking about, are terrible.
Always.
Yeah. You think they're gonna be good, and sometimes they're palatable. But so then I realized that there was just a market gap. Started looking around, I was like, well, there has to be a meadery around Kansas City, such a population. Looking. Oh, a couple wineries make a mead, or make a couple meads. They aren't really marketing it that well. It's just something to fill their tanks in the off season while they aren't producing wine. And so I decided to move back to Kansas City and be the meadery.
Got a question for you in the center here.
Hi. So I saw earlier where you had on one of your slides about where you source your honey. And so with a lot of talk about the issues with climate and getting honeybees and that type of thing. So how are you dealing with that and working with that, and kind of where do you source your honey and how do you make that sustainable?
Okay, yeah. So we source a vast majority of our honey is going to be sourced through local beekeepers. There's the Kansas Honey Producers Association, which we've been in touch with. I have a whole list of honey producers in the area. With that, there's different seasonal variability within it, so making a consistent product out of that is a little bit unique. But then we can also source honey from around the world, because heather honey from the English or Scottish Highlands, sorry, is going to be different than a buckwheat honey from California is different from an orange blossom, all these things. So I can actually make personal contact with beekeepers around the world that are getting these unique monofloral honeys. And
Will that change your product as well?
yes, yeah. So we're doing like a Pollinators Reserve series, which is where I highlight specific varietals of honey, and that actually is going to have like a sliding margin scale, so that we portray to the customer that honey cost maybe $11 a pound instead of $1.50, and it's a unique varietal you aren't going to find it anywhere else, and that's how we kind of communicate that. As far as sustainability goes, there's a little bit of public misconception in that the native bees are in a lot of trouble because there is habitat destruction, there's neonicotinoids being sprayed all over our industrial farms that have pesticidal drift that affect colonies. But there's also an increase in colony collapse disorder, right? Which is from the honeybee that we're dealing with in particular. So ideally, we use the Pollinators Reserve as an engine to raise awareness. By introducing people to these rare, exquisite honeys, we can then raise the consciousness of the plight and maybe even donate some proceeds to research, particular institutes. Honey and Pollination Center is doing a great job on stuff like that. And then also part of our tours, I would ideally like to integrate 15 minutes of just a bee health update for our customers who want to take our tour. Hope that answers your question.
Question in the front?
Hi, nice job. This is exciting for Kansas City. So a couple of quick questions. Do you have an opening date, or did you mention that and I missed that, or proposed opening
Right.
dates?
So every time I tell somebody this, it gets set back a little bit more. But we're hoping to be open with some soft openings with product to serve by like August, to mid-August or so.
Okay, cool. Then second question, you talked about 3 meaderies are opening a week
Yeah,
right now in the U.S.?
And that's our best numbers right now. that
Okay.
We aren't. It could be slightly more, and it could just be that we aren't catching them all.
Sure. So that's crazy. I mean, that's a huge amount of meaderies that are open. How do you're going to be the first. I assume you won't be the last in Kansas City for meaderies. How do you prepare yourself for what's going to be competition coming up and not really knowing what that competition looks like beforehand?
So right now, we're kind of in the situation of a rising tide floats all boats, right? As long as they're producing a quality mead, I'm still going to benefit from somebody else knowing what it is. And we're still, as an industry, getting to the point where different meaderies across the U.S. are creating markets for other meaderies. So we aren't really sure what that's going to look like. There's thought in the mead community that we'll actually run into a situation where we have to contract with beekeepers for an amount of honey, because the American honey market is only so much production, right? And unfortunately, just like agriculture, there's less and less people getting into it, and it's being more centralized. So we aren't, as far as dealing with local competition, ideally we partner with them to create more mead-specific events and just generate more growth for our category. And then just the fact that we are the first, and ideally also very high quality, right? I would like to hope that we are and think that we are. That stands alone and helps us maintain whether it's market superiority or shelf space. Yeah. Also, brand building. I think marketing is how you're marketing yourself in that situation is just as important as what your product is like.
I've got a question for you in the center here.
Yes.
Hey there. I've heard several people say that, until today I didn't know what mead was. So apart from making a quality product, how are you going to educate the masses about what meat is and, deliver your product to those gluten-free people? Because, I think that cider is the only option right now, and gluten-free people would love to have something like this, but apart from just making a quality product, you're going to have to educate people on what meat is. So I'm curious on how you plan to do that.
So I think it's a combination of things. So I always liked my shtick with this one is with education is our greatest challenge, but it's also our greatest opportunity, right? Because we are the first people to introduce this to somebody. Generally, the responsibility is on us to frame it appropriately for the rest of the category, not to turn anybody off, but also convey it accurately. And whenever you're trying to introduce somebody to an entire class of beverage, that's a unique challenge. So my thought is with branding, because branding is going to be a touch point for your consumer, right? So ideally, on tap, we have something similar to that where there's dripping honey, there's a bee on top. It's attention grabbing, and makes you either ask more questions about what that is, or ideally you think something beyond honey beer, right, is the thought. And the same with our branding. Meadery is kind of a strange word for a lot of people. Everybody goes, meat? You age meat like ribs and barrels? How do you do that? I swear, you would be amazed at how often I hear that. So that's a unique challenge. Honey wine is synonymous with mead, according to the government. So we use that term a lot. It's a little more transparent for people as to what it is. I think it really is just going to come down to telling our story through social media. Social media interactions, essentially, word of mouth, and the touch points on branding that make you ask further questions. So I hope that answers your question.
Question on your left.
Hey, has Cop Point Meadery won any awards?
Thank you. Yeah, so we've won, let's see, 2 international awards at the Mazer Cup International for a couple different meads that we've done. Actually, I guess there's 3 international awards with 1 from a different international competition, a handful from local competitions, and mead-specific competitions throughout the U.S. So yes, in short, we have the acceptance from our peers that what we have is actually a quality product.
Got a question for you right here.
The $32,000 you raised, can you explain that a little bit to us? You said it was through startup.
Yeah, so we did a Kickstarter, and so we essentially raised the most money that a meadery has raised on Kickstarter ever. Second most from a crowdfunding project at all for a meadery. Okay. We didn't really know if we could break the 30,000 mark. And Kickstarter is an all or nothing campaign. You either make the goal and you get the money, or you don't.
So it's crowdfunding.
Correct. So that was $32,000 of money gifted.
And I assume you gave away an equity position in the company?
Nope.
No.
No, this was for T-shirts and stickers. And,
so I
and
got so I put in $5 or whatever, and I got a T-shirt.
So that we had different. I should have had a slide of this. Our Kickstarter is still up on the web. You could certainly open that up if you wanted to. There's a 3.5-minute video that Mammoth locally did for us. And so basically, it's an incentivized reward program where if they gave $50, they got a shirt and a sticker. If it was $25, they got a sticker pack. And all of these people also got like a handwritten thank you note. Up to, let's see, we did like framed printings of our first run of labels for some people that were signed. And just different swag packs, if you will.
How much did it cost you? You raised $32,000.
5,000. So the most of that was actually to the production quality of the video, but I don't feel like with the type of product we are and the type of business that we are, we needed a solid video to convey to the public what we were and how it was going to work. And yeah, it was kind of a linear climb. It was one of the most humbling and nail-biting experiences I've ever gone through.
So our final question for you today is, what can we as a community do to help you?
So I would say help spread the word on what this stuff is, right? That would be ideally. Also, this is our first business that we've ever started. We're all fairly young out of college and the like, and so business mentorship is always welcome, friendship, entrepreneurship, and just general advice and community would be awesome.
Thank you so much for your presentation today.
Thank you.
So we have a couple of quick live announcements. I'm going to first bring up Quest. He's making his way to the stage to make an announcement for you all. Also, weekly, we email out our announcements on Tuesdays, so if you guys are interested, please go to our website and create a profile and just check the box that, yes, you would like to receive more information from 1 Million Cups. So, Quest.
Thank you, Courtney. Good morning, everyone. This is so boring. Come on, we can do 10 times better than that. Let's support all the businesses. Good morning. So much better. Well, I'm here on behalf of Rick Usher, who is not with us, but he is our super supporter of the community of anything entrepreneurship. Recently, he has pulled together our entrepreneurial community, such as the Digital Sandbox, our UMKC STDBC program, our KC Biz Care, and a couple other programs here locally in the city to apply for the City Accelerator grant from Citibank and a couple other organizations. If we are awarded, we need your support to vote. So either go off to the 1 Million Cups handle on Twitter, Kauffman Foundation, the Kansas City, Missouri Foundation, the mayor's handle, and a few other city handles, and you'll find it. Please vote. If we win, we'll get a $1 million accelerator here that supports Main Street businesses along with the support from the Citibank. Then there's follow-on money from the Economic Development Corporation of Kansas City and a lot of other organizations. So if we want to support more women, underestimated individuals, and people that have Main Street type businesses, as well as high tech, high growth, I suggest that you please vote for the City Accelerator. We're one of 8 out of 40 different cities that made it. So thank you. Please apply.
And how long do we have to vote? Do we know?
They might make a decision as early as Friday, but
Okay.
put as many votes in as possible.
Okay, so I will tweet that out right after I'm done with announcements this morning. Thanks, Quest. And then also, we kind of announced last week that 1 Million Cups is moving. So next week will be our last week here at the Kauffman Foundation. We will be in this space right back to where we were started. And then August 1st, we will start our new program at FlexPod Westport Commons. So if you guys have any questions about this, please let me know later. But we are really excited about the move, and so we're taking July off to make sure that we have all the logistics ready for the new location. So with that, I would like to welcome up our second presenter, Michael with CIC PowerBox.
Is this working? Can you hear me okay? I think since there's some time, we're going to run the video, I think, first, if we can get it to work. Yeah. Click this thing. Yep. This is our phone. So now you have all just been cursed because you'll never look at a pickup truck toolbox ever again the same way. You'll find yourself driving home and you'll see a pickup truck with a toolbox in the back, and hopefully you'll be looking for a Powerbox brand name somewhere along the line. I'm Mike Windsor. I'm the CEO of CIC Powerbox. I also want to introduce Morgan Windsor, my son and vice president of the company. We have a total of 9 employees. Casey Beeman over there is my media director. She's the one with the camera going. And let's see if we got this up. We do. So we'll try to run through this quickly to give you, come on, we should be working. Tyler, help me, help me, help me. Oh, it's probably still loading. It's just 100 meg. Anyway, while he's working on that, we have been working on this product since 2001 when I first had the initial idea, and we'll jump into that here momentarily here when this gets to working. In 2003, I took and developed the very first one and found out there was nothing out there in the industry like this, so then I began working on patents. Applied for them in 2005 and 2006, didn't get them until 2011. Actually didn't receive them in hand until 2012 and had a major fight with the patent office regarding it, but I did get my patent. It took a while. It's a long argument. But needless to say, it came through, and now we've been in full production since July 1st of 2015, so we're 3 years in at this moment in time. Currently, we've sold to 32 states, Canada, and even sold one in Mexico. The guy came across the border to get it, and just kind of a roundabout situation there. I guess he didn't want it getting stolen on the black market down there or something. And I guess we're still loading. Sorry about that, sir. I had it up this morning. So anyway, here we go. You're real close now. You're close now. So we're supposed to start with where we came from and where we took this and where we go. Yeah. This.
Not responding, so I apologize.
We're still loading.
Yeah.
Okay. Will it even pull up anything?
It's not even doing anything. So.
Well, it's still probably loading. Okay, well, needless to say, what we've done is we've taken the technology of, I'm actually from the aerospace industry. I have an engineering degree in electronic engineering technology, and I was in the aerospace industry for a little over 30 years, of which I've retired from now to take this company forward after we've received our patent and everything. And in doing so, I took some of the technology that was out there, so we'll have a little conversation about NASA here in a little while, and brought that to the simple aspect of what's needed in the industry. And I say what's needed in the industry. Currently out in the industry right now, they're using portable generators, portable air compressors, and jump start systems. And the jump start systems are all, you see these infomercials online where they try to jump your car and stuff like that. We're jump starting heavy equipment. We're jump starting dozers and track excavators and M1 Abrams tanks for the military. So we've taken some of the technology that's out there and put it into a simple toolbox, but of course it's meeting the needs of a bunch of contractors and farmers and ranchers and railroad guys and departments of transportation and Department of Public Works.
I'm trying to get you pulled up here.
Okay, I apologize, we're completely down. So, needless to say, and you have no idea how many times I've gone through this to try to get it under 6 minutes. So, having the idea and bringing it forward in 2003, I built the very first unit, and it worked. And it worked to the extent of being able to run tools and equipment that I needed on my personal job situation that was out there. So then I carried it forward into what all can I get into a toolbox configuration, and we added a whole bunch of additional products that are part of the patent now that's going forward. Also, there's aspects of the product that enables us to add hydraulics to it. It also includes jump-starting turboprop engines for aircraft, jet aircraft, helicopters, all of that's going forward. And we do currently have the military as our customer base. We're selling to the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Army. And the Army has actually asked us to build a specific box specifically for them. We're about 80% there, something like that, close. It's not powder coated yet, but it's welded, and we're putting it all together. That has the potential to be lots of boxes. So it's a scenario where we hopefully will be helping our warfighters start the equipment out there in the field. If you go to any Army base, especially an armored division where they have tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles and those kinds of pieces of equipment on their jobs, on their sites, number one problem, jump starting. Batteries set for a long time, they're not able to start them because they've got large motors on them. And with the PowerBox system, you can now start those pieces of equipment. We have 2100 cranking amps, which our fuse is actually our jumper cables. So if we're ever going to burn anything up, it's going to be the jumper cables that's going to be trying to start this piece of equipment. But so far we've been successful jump starting virtually everything we've hooked up to as long as we can turn the motor over. And if the motor doesn't start, but we're turning it over, we're doing our job. And if we burn up the starter, well, then that's a different issue in itself. But point is, we have enough power to supply to the system to get the motor operating if possible. Are we up at all?
No,
oh my goodness.
it's a big one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but I had it down here up already this morning.
I know, when we went to go start it, it just crashed, so. Yeah.
It's what? I'm sorry, but they have very strict rules about how the Kauffman Foundation is supposed to have this presented, so we changed everything in order to have a, I don't know, I think we got about 70 slides, but I could get it done in 6.5 minutes to run
You're doing a
through.
great job. I think this is a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so needless to say, and Morgan, you're welcome to join me. Come on up and we'll
Why don't we turn it over for expert questions? That way we can get the conversation rolling on this. You guys
Okay.
want to go ahead and take it over?
hit us.
I'm a product guy. I don't make any liquor. I manufacture fitness equipment, and we develop some products for NASA and the Bowflex Revolution and other consumer products, including the Oyo gym that we've got out there. So yeah, I'm fascinated by what you guys are doing, and I was just thinking about your video because we just did an infomercial that we're launching. And I mean, I could see your videos being redone, and you start off with your, the Abrams tank won't start, and the guy pulls up in his, camo Air Force truck, and jump starts it, and then the Cobra helicopter, it lands, and or you're at some FBO and a jet, pulls up, and the guy jump start, and then go in. Well, if we can do it for these guys, we can do it for your tractor or your car, whatever. But.
Yep.
But yeah, I think you've got a great concept there, and I love the trademark and all the different packaging opportunities. I went to your website, and yeah, it's very, very exciting. So where are you distributing this right now? Is it more commercial, or are you into Lowe's or Home Depot, or where are you going with this?
The product itself is, shall we say, somewhat very specialized. No one has ever seen anything like this before, and who the heck has ever heard of CIC PowerBox, as far as a brand name is concerned. So that's been a problem getting it out there. Did you like the video that you saw on it? We're selling units on e-commerce just because people see this. This is an expensive product. It's very, very well built. It is commercial grade power, and it does all of these things, and yet it's a toolbox. In fact, even Turner yesterday said, Mike, it's a magic box, because people are used to seeing a generator sitting there running gas and fuel and everything else, or an air compressor sitting there with a gasoline engine on it running. And we have created this all inside a toolbox. You don't even see it in there, and yet there's still room for your tools. And yet you're getting commercial grade power that will run a welder. It'll air up combine tires and tractor tires and semi-truck tires and loader tires on Cat equipment, as well as run impact wrenches so you can take off lug nuts. So it's a scenario where we've got a product that no one has ever even seen, and then once they do see it and once they own one, another one sells and another one sells. And that's what we're seeing happening right now, just because of what it actually does for them out there. So the video itself has gone viral. I think you need to reboot. Just shut it off and restart it right up, because it came right up this morning whenever we were here earlier. It literally, we literally took us about a year to get our video done for a multitude of reasons. But once it got out there, we introduced it April 13th of last year, of 2017. And right now we're over 6 million views with almost 11 million hits. And we've got 32,000 followers and 31,000 likes so far, just from our simple little video. So marketing through Facebook and e-commerce is very good and can help and can work. We're selling through the e-commerce just because people are seeing this and then they're going to our website and seeing that. We are noticing a disconnect between they see the video and they're all excited and they're like, wow, man, I really want one of these things. I could use it every day on the job site. And then they go to our website. And even though our website is good, and we're working on a brand new one here, Casey's going to hopefully be publishing it by the end of the month or close to it. It's still, you're at a website, and all of a sudden it's just drab. Or, you know, there it is, and now you got to walk your way through if you're going to buy one. So we're doing an interim sales video that when they come to our website now, they're going to be hit with another video as to why do you need to buy this product. Let me explain more of what you just saw in that video about what it really does, and let me justify the price.
Do you think it's, yeah, the price point when they see that, they go, wow, this
Correct.
thing does everything. I know on Kickstarter there was a product called the Coolest Cooler, and you could, you know, make milkshakes with it. You could, you know, run your iPod with it. You could, you know, do everything and have just a big party with this, you know, cooler that's on steroids. And they raised millions of dollars.
And they're infringing on my patent.
Yeah, so they're like a combination.
Exactly.
And we went on Kickstarter, and we've done over $1 million in crowdfunding, you know, to date on Kickstarter, Indiegogo. I'm just thinking, could you take this, which is right now a commercial, expensive product, and take a version and build like a prototype of a lower cost, more consumer-oriented version, put that up on Kickstarter, and all these people, you know, maybe it's a $600, $700, $800, you know, $500. I don't know what your price point you get it to, but have a consumer version of this thing, and then you'd have the commercial version, which you're selling into, you know, Grainger and Northern Tools, and you know. But that's just a thought, because it's, you know, that money comes in, it's, you know, you can use it right away, and you know, once you close the.
We would love to be able to do something on Kickstarter if we could figure out exactly how to do it and give that customer something back for either giving us some money or buying a unit, you know,
Yeah,
buying
what
in.
you just
Our
what they're basically they're just like pre-funding your production on that product. So
we currently are in production, and granted, if the slides would ever work, we could show you that. We're in production with 3 different, actually now 4 different models that cover from the standard crossover box that you see here to the chest model and the Go box, and then we have a 24-volt version of the crossover model, which is the 24-volt jump start for the heavy equipment that's out there. The base units here, these start at $3,399, $3,399. Now, for what this product actually does, it's underpriced. Completely underpriced for what it really does out there in the field. But people see a toolbox and they're thinking, hey, Tractor Supply, $500-600 and I'm good to go. And oh yeah, just because it can do all this other stuff, I shouldn't have to pay more than $1,500 for it. That's what they're thinking. It doesn't do that, meaning once the military have seen this product, they want multiple quantities whenever they're starting to buy them now. So it's a scenario where those people that really get it and have used it in the field understand what it can do. We almost have to break the person's arm to get them to buy one to begin with, but then once they do, then the next order is, yeah, I need another one. Yeah, I need another one. Or Morgan's pulled up to see a previous customer, not to sell him anything, we just came to check on your power box to see how it's going. And he goes, oh, it's fine. How much you want for that one in the back of your truck? And that has actually happened to us multiple times. So it's a scenario where it is getting the brand name out there, it's making people understand what it can do, and making literally a show of the product to the industry as to what it is capable of doing. So this is our website. You didn't?
Yeah, no, it's not going to work.
Okay, well, that was a week and a half worth of work on a presentation that I don't need anymore. Maybe we can post it after the fact on the Kauffman Foundation website or something, because it's got additional information in there. We have all of our cage codes and SAM numbers and SIC numbers and NICS numbers and all of that stuff for the military. There's, as I'm assuming a lot of you in here are young, so you're looking at being entrepreneurs or starting into that field. It is the hardest road you will ever go down, let me tell you. I'm 58 years old. I've been in the industry for over 30-some years, doing aerospace, weapon systems, missiles. I'm sure you've heard of the Hellfire missile. Patriot missiles, the PAC-3 MSE version specifically. My power systems are on those weapon systems. That's what I used to do, okay? The jet packs that fly out of the jets when the guy's going to crash and it saves the pilot's life, those battery systems on the back of that are mine, okay? That's where I come from. So I've taken the technology that's out there and being utilized by the aerospace industry and put it into a simple toolbox that will do all of these tasks for farmers and ranchers and contractors and railroad workers and departments of transportation guys that they use remote power everywhere that they are. And if you're pouring a foundation for a home, there's probably not electric on site at this point in time. So you're pulling up there and you don't have electric, you don't have air power, and you're trying to get the job done without these functions unless you're carrying a generator in the back of your truck. And then, of course, generators use gas, they make fumes, they make noise. They do not meet EPA standards for any place in the United States, especially California. Our units do. Our units meet the EPA standards for the nation. We've even been told that whenever we actually introduce this into California, and we've only sold one box in California, we're being very limited on California right now, because when we do offer this to the California market, we want to be ready, because we're being told that we could actually, and this is a long shot, I know, but we could actually change the laws there, because catalytic converters, which are on your automobiles, which reduce emissions and meet the EPA standards set up by California, are not on generators. They're not on portable air compressor systems that are being used on job sites everywhere throughout California. Our systems meet it, and meet it in the sense that they've got a built-in battery system that they operate for hours and hours and hours on their own power. But if you ever do run it down, let's say you're welding with a unit and you're using a tremendous amount of power out of it, so you do eventually run it down, just start your vehicle. And if it's a California approved and emission stamped vehicle, now you are meeting EPA standards for the state of California, and you are still getting power now out of your power box while it's recharging the system. So we believe we've got a home run on our hands. It's shall we say, it's turning out to be so far. We're 3 years in. We've got 4 products that are completely in full production right now. We've got 4 more in the works. We've got a small little, you've seen the little jump packs for your cars. We've got a little jump box for jump starting tanks and helicopters at the hospital before they take off on a live flight. We've got units like that, we've got a working unit right now. It's just not in production yet. We've even got a power system for bass boats and bass fishermen that are out there in tournaments and stuff like that that just randomly came up.
So
Yes.
what are you looking for coming here?
We need help with preparing an investment portfolio pitch. In fact, through another group here in Kansas City, we are trying to join the Perfect Pitch so we can get trained to prepare an investment portfolio for potential investors going forward. We need some help with some of the patents stuff that we do have in place, that we will have products that are patentable, and we even have working models now, so we are ready to go to the patent stage on some of this stuff. We also have, well, we're looking for contacts. I mean, the Kauffman Foundation is huge, and it's got a lot of different people that are involved with it overall, to where maybe someone can help us get into some of the fleet vehicle sales and some of the fleet trucks that are out there. For example, there's Clarkson Construction here in Kansas City owns just one box so far. We're hoping to sell them more as we go forward. But Kiewit, which is up in Nebraska, they have tens of thousands of pickup trucks in their fleet overall, to where just a few thousand units with them would be a huge amount of revenue for us going forward. Beyond that, last year in the market, 6,500 pickup trucks were sold every single day in 2017. So there's over 118 million pickup trucks on the road in the United States right now, to where literally if we just had one day of sales, at the $3,300 or $3,400 level, you're looking at almost $20 million in revenue for us as a company. Yes?
Yeah, I had a question. So is the technology, you guys are combining a lot of like commercially available things into the box? Or is the inverter, like is it a Honda inverter in there, or is it your own product that's powering the whole thing? What's the core? Is it gas powered?
Sure wish I had my slides. So basically what we've done is we've taken a very special battery system that I've worked with the company since 2003. This started with a battery scenario that I was in the battery industry and I knew of this company, and we were testing one of their new batteries, and we dropped a 1/2-inch wrench across the contacts, a combination wrench, and it melted the wrench in two. So then the next premise for me was, did it hurt anything inside the battery? Did the battery short out? Did it damage the plates? And when we did cross-sectional inspection and went through it, we found that battery was fine. So that instantaneously told me I had some fairly good amperage coming out of there. We then since load tested it and everything else, and that's where we came up with 2100 cranking amps, which your normal truck battery is about 750. So just out of our box alone, you can get 2100 cranking amps, and that's why it'll start systems so well that are out there. So we worked with that company, and only one company is building a battery like this right now because they've maintained that design for us going forward. On the inverter side of things, being an engineer back in '01, and I got a great shot with a guy getting wet in the rain. I was literally working on a roof using electric with a long cord, and it began to rain and it tripped the circuit breaker. So I'm getting down off the roof, going to the house, flipping the circuit breaker back on, climbing back up on the roof and trying to get done before the rain gets me. And unfortunately, I was soaking wet by the time I didn't get finished with the roof. And with water running down your backside, that's usually when you'll have an epiphany. And when I said, as an engineer, I'd love to be able to have portable power with me wherever I was, and power enough to run my equipment that I had on the job site, right? So looking at inverters, and an inverter takes DC power and turns it into AC power. The inverters that were out there would run an iPod or charge up maybe your computer, depending on your computer, like you said, with the cooler thing. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Inverters are not very powerful, or at least weren't back then that day. So I started with about 4 different companies and ended up working specifically with one where I changed their design and made a better configuration for what they were actually using, which they then allowed me a year, basically a year and a half before they went into production and released that product to the public. And this goes clear back to '03 and '05, clear back in there. And since that time, we've made 4 design changes with that company. So now every time I call, it's like, Mike, what's the problem? And because they know that we're more or less testing their systems for them. But this inverter is 2,000 watts, continuous power, which is about 17 amps. The wall outlet right here will give you about 15 on a normal wall outlet. Ours is about 17 continuous with a 4,000 watt peak. So it can start an arc on a welder and run a welder. It'll run several tools at once. We've got a 3,000 by 6,000 watt inverter also that we can upgrade to. And the inverters have gotten better over the course of time that are being offered to the public now. But our system still at this point is unsurpassed in the industry. And it works. So we're taking this very special battery and we're running it through this very special inverter. And then we have actually you can't even get this on the market, but it's a Puma pump that we put down inside our unit. It's an oilless and no maintenance pump, which is 4 cubic feet per minute. And that runs our air power for us. There's a built-in tank. There's a 3-gallon built-in spare tank built into the unit. That's why it can run an impact wrench by itself. And then, so now you have your air, you have your electric, and you have your jump start capability all right out of your toolbox. And then, of course, now we've made it convenient in that we've put it all down the bottom of the box, so you still have storage, but we put a 30-foot cord reel in there, so you've got an extension cord to pull out. You got a 25-foot hose reel in there, so you've got a hose that you can pull out for running your air tools. And we've even, on our newer boxes, we've even got 50-foot hoses on those now.
Hey, Michael.
As well as you've got your jump start right out of the side of the box.
I hate to cut you off, but we're going to go ahead and ask our last question. What can we as a community do to help you?
We need assistance, as I said, in preparing an investment portfolio for an investment group somewhere going forward. If anyone is versed with patents, carrying patents forward, and even though I am, we have a situation where we have multiples that we need to get done to where we need some subsequent help with that, as well as if anyone has any specific contacts with contractors, construction companies, chain stores, and I say chain stores, Lowe's and Home Depot and those kind of stores, they want a drastic amount of money, and you have to be of a certain size to even deal with some of these companies. to where eventually we may be in there with a standard consumer type model. But as it stands right now, we're looking for more of a chain store type of scenario that are versed in equipment sales, that sell or maybe supply equipment to job sites and stuff like that. For example, Caterpillar out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and Michigan is a dealer for us. They actually flew out and met with us, and they are now a dealer for us. Although our product is very low on their totem pole of what they've got, Caterpillar came out and vetted us, and McAllister Machinery, which is the CAT dealer, they're $1.6 billion strong, have power boxes on display in their stores in Indiana. So it's a scenario where we're growing into the market, we're trying to get the name out there and get it expanded, and the faster we can go nationwide, the faster we can capitalize on the market that we believe is there. We had a valuation company come in from Rogers, Arkansas, and they literally were there for 4.5 hours, and we got an email from them the next day telling us that they were not capable of giving us a valuation because they felt that our product potential was mind-blowing, because we have other aspects where we can jumpstart locomotive trains and other equipment that is supposed to be worth tens of millions of dollars a year going forward, to where we just got to get this technology now into the hands of the customers and see some revenue from it. Yes.
All right, well, let's give CIC Powerbox a hand, and thanks so much for being here. Okay, so next week is going to be our last week here, so you want to make it. It's Ada and Canular Products are going to be presenting. Again, our last meeting here, and then we're taking July off, and we will see you in August. We're going to be moving to PlexPod Westport Commons. So that's where we'll be. Don't come here in August. PlexPod, Westport Commons, not here. Okay. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great Wednesday.